in a business, an industry that is so challenged by labor with such high turnover rates, you can't afford not to treat people amazing and really develop their skills. And that's where my friend David Strange comes in. David's got a really interesting take on morale and what it takes to build a winning organization. Most of all, having people not just satisfied, but want to stay with you and give their best performance every day. You're going to want to stay tuned to this episode. Listen, what would it feel like to lower your operating costs, double your sales, lower staff turnover, create raving fans, and design a menu that literally prints money? Our online restaurant training system will teach you and your staff to rock your restaurant and transform your business. Head on over to restaurantrockstars.com. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to get started. You've got this. Your restaurant team is the foundation of your business and most important asset. I know from experience that a happy team is a productive team that delivers great guest service experiences. Morale is the key. Check out myemployees.com/hospitality. My Employees offers impactful, consistent, and most of all, appreciated recognition programs that boost morale, reduce turnover, and drive guest satisfaction. My Employees is the industry benchmark, helping thousands of hospitality leaders build winning teams. Go to myemployees.com/hospitality. Welcome back to the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. David, welcome back to the show. I'm psyched that you're here.
Thanks, Roger. It's a pleasure to be back.
We really have an affinity for teamwork, respect, morale, leadership, and up-leveling organizations, and you're an expert in that field, so this is really relevant to our audience. Let's talk about this industry right now, because so many restaurants and businesses are still struggling with staffing. What are the keys to solving these staff and labor challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. It is tough. And I've been in some masterminds recently, constantly in contact with our clients, CEO friends. Doesn't look like it's getting easier, it's getting harder. But the thing that keeps coming up for me is hiring for attitude. The saying we have around here and with our clients is hire slow, fire fast. I think now more than ever, for anyone listening, when you're running an operation and need help, it is so tempting to get somebody in a seat so that you're not stressed out, you're not working 70 hours a week, and your staff has some help. I think the biggest thing is hire slow, hire the right person, hire for attitude, because you can train most of the skills, but one thing you can't train is attitude.
That is an absolute key point. Unfortunately, I've seen it when I consult with different organizations, or if I've even spoken and done any training. It's like I've seen a bunch of restaurants that feel they have this mentality, we need them more than the people need us, so we're willing to let certain things slide. And when that happens, the whole teamwork thing disappears. People think, boy, they have no control, and the inmates are running the prison, for lack of a better term. And that really isn't the way it is. But when you're short-staffed, I get it. It's like you hire the warm bodies and the show must go on. But really, that does you more harm than good, even in the short run. So hire slow and fire fast.
Absolutely. And also, just as in the same token, when we dealt with thousands of clients, especially after COVID, where staffing issues were a huge concern, it's important when you need help not to forget to say thank you and show appreciation to those folks carrying the load, and your right-hand woman, your right-hand man, your assistant managers, those employees that continually step up, especially when you're taking time to hire the right person. It is equally important to take time and show them appreciation. They say 47% of your top employees are actively looking to leave you because you're not showing them appreciation. That 47% of your top employees are looking to leave you. Those are two things that I would recommend. Hire for attitude, make sure it's someone that fits the dream culture that you want. And then at the same time, be very conscious and show effort to thank and praise the folks on your team going above and beyond.
Wow, that is a surprising yet frightening statistic. And that speaks volumes as to the satisfaction that people are looking for in their positions, their jobs, whatever. And perhaps employers are falling short in certain areas, and they're unaware that key people you can't afford to lose could leave if you're not providing them the satisfaction, the morale, the team spirit, the upward mobility. All these things are super, super important. But I love the fact that you said hire for attitude, in many businesses and restaurants. If you find the right people that are trainable versus people that may have experience that come in with the wrong approach or bad habits, it's hard to reverse those things. I always hired for personality, approach, and initiative, and I tried to get that out of people in interviews. I used to have unusual questions that really got to the heart of people's motivations and their thinking. I'd ask them things like, what accomplishment are you most proud of and why? What would your high school English teacher say about you? What are your goals in life? And
Yeah.
those questions can't be fudged. In a high turnover industry like restaurants, how do you find quality people that you can train and develop?
We have a phenomenal practice here at our company that works very well. It's a three-part process. Number one, we take very good care of our people. So we're intentional. I don't like the GM runs the show type of ship. Anyone on my team, I consider them a leader and I can learn from them. I look to our employees as leaders in areas that I'm not good at. That's why they're in the position. And we constantly challenge each other. We learn. But the main thing is for our employees, we take very good care of them. We recognize as often as possible. And we create that raving fan where they love coming to work. When you have a culture where morale is low and you're trying to recruit, it's very stressful. Lots of interviews, lots of putting out fires while you're trying to interview, call outs. But when you cultivate that culture of appreciation where you're recognizing the top folks and constantly challenging people to grow and improve, they're loyal to you. And then what we do here, anytime we have an opening, which is we send out a referral email and just ask folks if they wouldn't mind sharing on their local social media if they know of someone that would be a perfect fit for the position. So I'd say probably 95% of people in the building came referred from somebody who's already in the company and creating that loyal fan inside the building. If you just let that team know who you're looking for, if you're not taking care of them, they're not going to refer anybody. But if you're really taking care of them, showing appreciation and letting them know, hey, we're looking to fill this position, we're going to give you guys the first opportunity to help us fill that. That works very well. And we typically see positions filled within a week just by sharing with the internal team. And then they share it on social media and we're good to go.
So my employees really specializes in recognition and in morale and improving team spirit. So I am assuming rightly that you are an optimum company to work for. You've got to be one of the best companies because you guys are the experts at it. Let me ask you this, and this may be personal opinion because everyone thinks of these things differently. Are you a believer in personality evaluations or those types of tests, Myers-Briggs or whatever it is? Is there any validity to that? Can that really find you a better person? Can that cut through the clutter?
I am a big believer in data drives decisions. So we have used a variety of tests here during application process. And I'm gonna be honest with all the listeners and you, Roger, you can fake the heck out of a test and end up hiring somebody based on false data. I've seen it happen here. One of the things, I don't know that you'd call it a personality test, but we did a book called The Road Back to You. It's an Enneagram study where we all learned our Enneagram types. That was probably the most successful understanding of each other I've ever seen. It's a book I would highly recommend. The Enneagram test is like $3. And we use that test to better understand how we can support that person. We don't hire someone based off of a test. I am not a big fan of anything more than getting to the truth and seeking to understand someone's personal goals, their attitude, desires in an interview. I think that's where you're going to find the truth. If you have a test that works, it's helping you remove waste and noise from your recruiting process, from your interviewing process, by all means. But for my hundreds and hundreds of interviews and hires, I don't think there's anything more important than looking someone in the face and knowing that they've got the attitude to take your company to the next level.
So restaurants get a wide variety of people. Some young people just starting their careers, it might be their first job. Middle-aged people, even elderly people in some cases work in restaurants at various positions, but it's a wide cross-section of people. And in a company like yours, obviously you're hiring professional people at all levels. But what would you say the onboarding process looks like? And is there any mentoring and shadowing? Are there career descriptions? It's like, how do you indoctrinate someone into your company, your philosophy, so that they become an optimum performer? Because I think there's lessons there that any restaurant can take and utilize, regardless of the level of the operation.
Yeah, that's great. So first of all, you have to lead by example. So you can't sit in an interview and explain how awesome the team is, culture is, how much opportunity there is without first developing yourself. So that's the first thing. I think you need to lead by example. And I think for an operator who's listening to this, trying their best to keep the boat afloat and put out fires,
Yes.
you want me to grow myself? Only thing I'd say is I've been with this company for 15 years. And when I started with this company, I didn't read a book a year. Now I probably read 2 or 3 books a month. The value that you create in conversations, especially with employees, sometimes doesn't directly impact the bottom line, but it directly impacts them personally. And then in the longer term, they come back into the store grateful and ultimately give you more. So, first thing, invest in yourself, grow yourself. They see that, they feel that. Second thing, I'm huge on the 30, 60, 90. Hiring someone for a role, being super clear on the expectations at 30 days, doing an eval at 30 days, and really just saying, hey, you're either going to meet expectations, exceed, or fall short. If we fall short, that's part of my responsibility as a leader. I want to know what we need to do to get that corrected. If I could give one piece of advice to any manager, if you end 30 days of employment with somebody, can you look at them and can they tell you whether they exceeded expectations, met or fell short? And if they exceeded, what's the reward, if any? And if they fell short, what's the consequence, if any? After dealing with many CEOs and managers, we can't answer that question. That's a massive failure on clarity from the top down and expectations from someone coming in. So that would be the second thing. And the third thing, we have a big, if you see somebody in the company that's excelling in an area that you want to grow in, we encourage you to partner with them, take them out to lunch, shadow them. We're very big on iron sharpens iron and just getting with somebody who you feel like, man, I'd love to learn that skill or that talent, go get with them. And I think when you put those three things together, clarity, culture, wanting to run with the best, and ultimately leading by example, you do get people that ramp up real fast and onboard very well.
Let's talk about your thoughts on discipline and consequences for infractions that happen in our audience's restaurants. And infractions happen all the time. They could be minor, like not showing up for a shift, routinely being late. Something more major might be bullying or some type of harassment. These are serious issues that need to be dealt with appropriately, professionally, and covered across the board. What do you think is a good framework for that?
I've been in big retail organizations, multi-billion-dollar organizations, smaller retail organizations, this organization. So very familiar with all the infractions and disciplinary situations that you're referring to. I want to boil it down to one simple thing. I read a book a couple years ago that shook me as a leader. It said, leaders don't address what needs to be addressed because they just don't care enough. We as leaders think, maybe I'll see if this happens again. Maybe they didn't mean it this way. Maybe something happened and they showed up late, and that's okay this time. Being with the company 15 years, I think you're really clear on your expectations, and it's the most respectful thing to address the smallest of things as soon as they happen. What ends up happening when you don't, and we all know this, when you get a situation that's cancerous to the organization, it is time consuming, it affects multiple employees. When you go to terminate, it's a big deal. So if you can catch a situation before it grows rapidly, it's so much more mitigated. And just be honest, that employee knows, oh, Roger cares. So if I could give advice to anyone listening, the only reason why we don't say what needs to be said is just because we don't care enough about that employee. If you care enough about that employee, tell them how you feel, your expectations while you have time to get it corrected, because once it's cancerous, it's very painful. And then to answer your question, my love language is results. They don't lie. They are what they are. I report to my boss, and if the results are done, it's good. And if not, we need to have a conversation. Culture is important. Team morale is important. But as far as disciplinary actions, we're all here to do a job, do it well. At the end of the day, if you've got employees or an employee that's not delivering the results, that can go on for so long before you either take care of it or your boss takes care of you. Start small while you have a chance to address it. And when you see something, say something because you care.
I love that. You started off by saying lead by example, and that is not being the boss. That's going above and beyond, being part of the team, not just someone that sits in the office and barks orders at people. And that's modeling the behavior that you want to see in your team, which leads to a culture where leaders replicate leaders. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah. I think it's all down to energy, enthusiasm, and care and respect and love. When I have a conversation with any of our directors here, managers, when they're going to go talk to an employee, we talk about the problem. And then I say, all right, cool. Now, as long as you deliver this with love, care, and respect, you can't go wrong. So I very rarely find a team member that is maliciously doing something to frustrate or harm the organization. 99% of the time, Roger, it's misunderstandings or lack of great communication. So I think if you show a lot of respect up front, seek to understand, not assume, it builds very strong trust. If a manager goes to an employee and seeks first to understand, handles that conversation with love, care, and respect, when a team member has an issue with a team member, they will replicate that process. When a team member has an issue with a client or an opportunity with a client, the motto is going to be like, I got to take care of this with love, care, and respect. So I think you model that from, I wouldn't say the top down. I don't like that philosophy. I think the top is the front lines and always will be. But you model that, you duplicate that, you ultimately get leaders replicating that process.
We had a conversation earlier, correct me if I'm wrong, but you referred to something as bottom-up leadership. You just led me right into that. Can we discuss that?
Yeah, great leaders listen. I had a mentor many years ago. He's now a vice president of a Fortune 50 company, and I was so floored. And I just became manager here, and I was floored because he was a VP and he ran multiple divisions of stores and had other small businesses. But I saw him spending time with his kids. I called him. I said, "Hey, how do you manage this?" And he says, "Real simple. Hey, you guys listen up. This is really important." He said, "Dave, I fly around at the 30,000 foot view and I have to keep my eyes on the operation 6 months, 12 months down from the big picture. But when my team needs me, I fly down to the 5 foot, address what needs to be addressed, ask questions, and listen from the front lines because the truth is at the front lines." Then I swoop right back up to the 30,000 foot view. And I said, "How does that help you lead?" He said, "The reason why leaders fail, David, is because they either stay at the 30,000 and never swoop down to the 5 to see the frontline view, or when they go to that view, they stay there too long." For me, that tells me one thing. The front line is where you find the quickest wins for the whole organization. If you want to find the solution quick, go see it from their perspective, then take it back up and implement it company-wide, district-wide.
I see.
I think you've got to intentionally engage with the front lines. Never want to be distant from that. If you ever feel like, hey, I'm a busy leader, that's what my managers need to do, you're probably missing a lot in the organization.
Restaurants can always use money and funding for many needs, inventory, equipment, whatever. Problem is, you need the funds now, and there's no time to wait for an answer. 55,000 business owners chose Fora Financial. They're more than a funder, they're your business partner. You can apply online in minutes, get approved in as little as 4 hours, and receive funding up to $1.5 million within 24 hours. You can't get that quick turnaround from any bank or credit union. You decide how you spend the money with no restrictions. And here's a bonus. Fora Financial offers prepaid discounts, so you pay less if you pay off sooner. Go to forafinancial.com/rockstar. That's FORA financial.com/rockstar. Funding subject to terms and conditions. Lily's Fresh Pasta refuses to compromise on quality. This family-owned business, built on time-honored traditions passed down from Lily to her son Antonio, lives on with every batch. Lily's Fresh Pasta is made to European standards using 100% non-GMO, glyphosate-free Italian unbleached wheat. Lily's is served in the finest restaurants in America. I've had Lily's Fresh Pasta many times, and I can tell you it's always molto buono. Elevate your menu. Serve Lily's Fresh Pasta in your restaurant. Ask your local food service representative or call Antonio directly at 603-818-2100. And be sure to follow Lily's on Instagram at Lily's Fresh Pasta.
I have a regular practice and a discretionary budget to take employees out to lunch. I cycle through as many as I can. I just say, from your perspective, if you were running the company, what would you be doing differently right now? That's the highest return on time invested for us as a company, for them to share how they would be doing things differently. It's refreshing to see what they say and how we can implement their version of what an amazing company looks like.
You can be a boss or a manager, consider yourself a leader. And if things are just running smoothly, you take it for granted, things are just going great. People obviously work for much more than a paycheck. They work for recognition. They want to know that they're contributing to the greater good. They want to know that their voice and their opinion matters. They want to have a relationship with the people at the top. So I think taking people out to lunch and just showing them, we really appreciate what you do and you're doing amazing and thanks so much. And are there any questions or challenges you're having that I might be able to help with? That's human interaction, communication, and
Yep.
caring right there. That's a beautiful thing. Let's move on, David, because you have had a wide variety of experiences in your career and in your life. People are the sum of their experiences. So everything leads to where you ultimately end up. You take the best of what you've learned and you just try to apply it, and you're continually learning in your career. Tell us your leadership story and how that brought you to My Employees. And then we're going to talk about the book after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a lot of experiences in that story, but I'll try to summarize it. Met my beautiful wife, Dora, and it's all in the book. So if you want to hear the full story, listen to it in the book. But I knew that what I was doing as far as income wouldn't support a family. So I was on a journey to be able to take care of her. I went to work for a large retail company. I was hungry and I wanted more. And I was very enthusiastic, as hopefully I am still today. I'll never forget that first major career. I said, hey, what do I have to do to win Employee of the Month? What do I need to do to win Employee of the Month? And it was my first month. And the manager said, this is what you have to do. And boy, did I check in with him almost daily. Hey, is this what you're looking for? I think I probably got on his nerves.
You had to check all the boxes right away. I want to make sure. Am I doing okay here? Yeah.
Everything. So I'll never forget. We ended that month and we had the all-store meeting. It was a 300 employee location, had the all-store meeting. And I was in my mind, no way one brand new employee is going to win. And here Employee of the Month coming up, David Strange. And I was blown away. I was so excited. They told me why I won and everything. And then this is the important part of the story. As soon as I won, the next day I came in and I went back to that leader. I said, hey, what do I need to do this month to win? And I got my heart broke because they said, once you've won once, you can't win again. And a common theme that we hear when we do recognition programs, hey, are we allowed to recognize the same person more than once a year? I can't award the same person back to back. All that's covered in the book, but ask yourself this: who contributed most to the morale, to the culture, to the performance of the team? There are some situations where I would recommend not allowing the same person to win, but you got to ask yourself who really deserves it. Because that day, I wouldn't say I checked out, but I was like, what can I do now? It wasn't too long after that. I was growing inside that organization, great organization, but I had provided some customer service to a district manager with a large retailer in the area. Right after that, he called and said, David Strange, this is so-and-so. I said, yes, sir. I remember you. He said, I have a store manager position I need to fill in Wilmington. Want to talk to you about that. I remember thinking to myself, opportunities are opportunities. Let me see what this is about. So I called him, interviewed, got hired at that organization. And then the team at that store, we took that store from 214 out of 300 stores to the top 5 stores in 8 months. I was excited. You got to get energy into the team. Energy and clarity wins. There wasn't a lot of recognition. I took a whiteboard from Office Max next door, ran a couple contests that didn't cost us anything. And the district manager later on the call said, Strange, what are you doing down there? And I told him, and he immediately said, you can expense it, everybody implement it. But here's the story. That was the year of 2008 where there was a big collapse and they said there's no pay raises this year. This story's in the book, but it's worth sharing again. Nobody called me and said, thank you. Nobody said a great job. I actually printed out the report with me at 214 and then me at top 5. Nobody said anything. The corporate office emailed me a certificate. I printed that certificate off and they sent me a black plastic frame to put it in. And I remember that certificate printed off crooked. And I had a piece of paper in my hand and a piece of plastic in my hand. And I thought to myself, do I reprint this off? And then I was like, wait a minute. If this is all I mean to this organization, I'm out. And I will tell you, I was on track to be 1 out of 3 people selected for district manager training. No one cared enough to give me a call and say, hey, we really appreciate you. So I decided not to put that certificate on the wall and I didn't print it back off. I decided that wasn't an organization I want to work for. Fast forward, came to work for this organization, my employees, started 15 years ago as a frontline employee. They told me, Roger, you're not that good unless you practice. Boy, did I practice. Ended up, fast forward a little bit, stories in the book, ended up winning salesperson of the year my first year, broke all the winnings, earnings, record breaking. Ended up winning 3 out of the first 4 years here with the company. Went on to client services director in charge of our 7,000 clients. Enterprise sales, where I got to meet some of the greatest people on the planet with companies like the Cheesecake Factory. Then I was sales manager, and then most recently after COVID, general manager. It's been a true blessing. And the recognition from my CEO, it just doesn't stop. And the team recognition, it doesn't stop. You cannot stop recognizing your people. They don't have a threshold where it's that's too much. Go out and thank somebody on your team today and don't stop. If you do stop and you're putting out fires or you're trying to run the operation, if you miss the people in front of you who are willing to go above and beyond for you, they leave you, is it painful?
There's so many takeaways there. That was really powerful. And I think everyone can learn from what you just said and apply that to their own restaurant, their own organization. Let's talk about the book. It's called Built to Lead.
Yep. So Built to Lead, as you'll see, was a Wall Street Journal bestseller and a 5-time #1 ranked leadership book on Amazon. And for our clients, it's a client favorite. It's David Long's story. Our CEO was ranked in the top 1% of various industries that he worked in. And the book is a guide to become the top 10% manager in your organization. So if you're out there and you're wanting to figure out how do I take multiple years, multiple industries, multiple skill sets and boil it down into 7 practical principles to help me be a top 10% leader, you've got to get this book, and we'll share how to get it for free at the end of the interview. It's him caring enough to share how he did it and how he helped hundreds of leaders do it. And it's been a client favorite.
That is tremendous. What's the key to creating great morale? How do you sustain that over time? That overall feeling of, I'm happy here.
I can answer that question and take us through the chapters of the book at the same time.
Great.
The R in reward stands for reconnaissance. And that's what we've already been talking about. Going in, checking on your team, not staying in your office, caring enough to figure out what your people value, what's important to them, and really understanding from the front lines point of view, what they care about, what they need fixed, what's going to make their life easier. And this important part, if there's somebody that doesn't need to be on the team, knowing who that is and having a plan to get them off. Now, listen, giving them a chance to grow through great communications and get better first. If they're not making the team better, they're making the team worse. So awareness of the team, reconnaissance. The education piece, Dave's chapter on education is brilliant. He does masterminds. He does book clubs here at My Employees. We go through a monthly book club where each week we meet for an hour. He pays us to be there and we discuss a book, Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a really great way to get know your team. But the short version is, how are you educating, investing in your team so that you're not just taking as a leader? What you don't want is just people clocking in, working, and going home. How are you investing in them? Whether that's a book that you've read and you're sharing that knowledge, how are you as the leader making your team better by the value you're creating in conversation? You can learn more about that in chapter 2. Winners Emerge is chapter 3. The rising tide lifts all boats, and you're going to have people out there. If you're listening to this, you're more than likely a winner. Roger, you're a winner. Winners want to show up. They want to add value. They want to contribute. So when you're engaged in the team and you're adding value to them, you'll have certain people, hopefully it's a lot of people that step up, go to bat for you. And that's where the next chapter, attitude, comes out. People won't show you who they are until you show them who you are. And I love Ray Dalio's book, Principles, Radical Transparency, Brutal Honesty. I tell my people all the time, of all the employees in the company, I probably need to improve more than anybody. And I genuinely mean that. My attitude is humility and growth, and they know that. When you're recognizing and educating the team and creating that environment where it's okay to say stuff that might be dumb, or is that a dumb question, or just speak up, winners emerge and the attitude of the team gets sharp. If you walk into some stores, you can literally see some people smiling and
Yeah.
engage with clients, and other
Yes.
people, they're standing, wishing, I don't think they were there, maybe playing on their phone, or when they're serving, they're not totally engaged. So when winners emerge and you go into the next chapter, or recognition, when you recognizing them and you're letting the team know, hey, this is what we're looking for. Roger really stepped up and this is how he served that client. It creates this race of energy of, okay, so the goal here is the best team on the planet. It's not to show up 80%, it's to show up and I care about my leader, I care about my team, I care about my clients. And recognition, again, if you don't take anything away from this podcast, I would bet if I walked in your store and asked your team, are you getting recognition enough? They would say no. And how I'm able to say that is we're a recognition company. And when we took our own surveys, we scored low in recognition, which is great. It means they're not going to get enough. So recognize them. And then that leads to chapter 8, duplication. Once you have great people, invest in them, the best rise, and you appreciate them through good, sincere recognition, you want to duplicate them. And this is the part I think is the most painful. Sometimes the people that helped you get here may not be the same people that helped you get there.
Good point.
And I think working with CEOs and especially leaders that care, I had a CEO friend of mine who wanted me to help him with a manager. And I told him before we started, I said, based on your conversations, I don't think this is going to work. And he said, I want us to at least try because this person helped our company grow to here. And I said, I understand that. I said, but you said you want to grow to here, right? And he said, that's correct. And I said, quite frankly, you can't have both. You can't have your vision of where you want the team to go when you're telling me this team member doesn't want anything more. And this leads to that duplication process. Dave's got a great principle in his book: hire, train, prune, repeat. Hire, train, prune, repeat. Unfortunately or fortunately, seasons in people's lives change. I don't know of any company right now where it's okay to go down in sales. I don't know one. So here's the truth. People are going to come and go. You only got a short amount of time with them. Some you'll promote up. Some they'll be with you for life and grow occasionally. Most will be a part of your organization for a short time. The duplication process means to get where you need to go, you're going to have to find, hire, prune, repeat. And if you ever get stuck on, I've got my team set, that's when you're probably going to start eroding. You always got to keep that fresh. So duplicating the process. And if you've got an A player on your team right now and you're thinking about their name, stay with me for a minute. If you say, all right, Strange, I've got the A player in my mind. Now imagine if every team member had the same attitude, energy, enthusiasm as that person. First of all, you probably wouldn't need as many employees, so payroll would go down. Productivity, energy, enthusiasm, and profitability would go up.
Absolutely.
So in the duplication process, you're trying to find and keep the best, and that's it. Our motto here, Roger, is excellence or nothing. Excellence or nothing. So if I'm not excellent, I need to go. And if we have somebody that's not excellent, they need to go. Ultimately, we're on a race to be one of the best companies on the planet. And that's the decision you have to make every day. And that leads to the last chapter in the book, which is success. I love how Dave defines success because it's not money. It's not growth. Success, as he defines it, is the joy of getting to see after you've invested in people's lives, their life changed
Yes.
and the impact you've had on them personally. I think As he says in the book, I've been able to experience that now as the general manager, where I've taken somebody who started with nothing, invested in them. They're coming back and telling me what they've done in their personal life, where they're at financially. You can't put a price tag on somebody coming and saying, hey, here's what I've been able to accomplish in my personal life. It's just unbelievable.
You made a difference. And that speaks back to love, caring, and respect. And it's genuine. It's not just some motto or a mission that hangs on the wall. It's genuine and it's applied every day. I love that philosophy. What a great acronym, rewards, right? The 7 rewards principles, and every letter stands for something powerful and impactful in people's lives. No wonder it's such a success. David, it's been my pleasure hosting you again on the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. This episode is so vitally important today with labor and challenges that restaurants and other industries are having, and you added a lot of value. And I think there's some definite key takeaways that are going to improve some businesses out there. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. So if you're wondering where...
Tell us about the book, please.
Yeah,
How do you get it?
No, you're good. Absolutely. So you say, hey, you heard enough. I want to listen to the book myself. We've been able to put it in a digital platform where you can download and listen to it. No strings attached. It's absolutely free. You don't even have to sign up for anything, which I love. So myemployees.com/app, myemployee.com/app. Just download the app, go to additional resources. You can listen to Built to Lead absolutely free. As Dave shares in his book, any feedback you have, he is more than open to taking. He loves helping leaders. So I don't want you to think this is about our company or even the book. David Long, who wrote it, myself, we've been in the trenches as managers, multiple industries. We care. If we can be of service to you, if you listen to us, listen to the book, take action, and then keep in touch.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for that generous offer to our audience. I'm sure we can all benefit from it. And what a great way to consume that book too through app form. David, thank you again.
Yep. Thanks, Roger.
That was the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Thank you so much, audience, for tuning in. Thank you to the sponsors this week. Can't wait to see y'all in the next episode. Stay well and stay tuned, and we'll see you then. That's a wrap. Running my restaurants taught me that the right tools move your business forward. So I'm a fan of Touch Bistro. It's more than just a POS. It's an all-in-one restaurant management system built by restaurateurs. Touch Bistro helps speed up service, reduce errors, and turn tables faster, while loyalty programs, online ordering, and contactless payments boost your bottom line. Plus, real-time analytics, inventory tracking, and staff scheduling are game changers. Want to learn more? Reach out to my friend Becky at BTARTICK@touchbistro.com or give her a call at 647-360-3994. She'll give you the full scoop and take great care of you.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.